Hi and welcome to this video.
Good morning!
Morning!
Good morning.
My name is Jan-Hendrik and in this video I would like to demonstrate how to install R and RStudio and how to make the first few steps in RStudio. For this video I planned the following. First of all, I would like to go into the installation of R, which is called RBase, and which is the fundamental program or software of R. We're going to install this from the CRAN server. Nevertheless, RBase is very uncomfortable to use. Accordingly, we will apply an IDE, an integrated development environment, and this one is called RStudio, and we have to install that too. After having installed both programs, we are ready to go, and accordingly we will have a little guided tour through RStudio, and we're going to get to know the four main windows in RStudio, which is the console window, the script window, the environment, and the output and help window. Having done this, you will be equipped to start your data science career in R and RStudio. I'm now going to switch to my browser and we'll start to install RBase from the CRAN server. Well, here I just opened my internet browser, and as you see, I opened cran.r/project.org. cran.r-project.org. This is the CRAN server. CRAN stands for Comprehensive R Archive Network, and it's a mirrored server all around the world where you can download the latest version of R. And even here on the main desktop you will see download R for Linux, download R for Mac OS, and download R for Windows. Depending on which machine you use, you have to follow the according link. Since I run a Windows machine, I just click download R for Windows. I want to download RBase, and I already see base is given here. Install R for the first time. I just click here and I get to this page here, and I see I can download R in the version 4.1.0 for Windows. Just clicking this link will lead to the download of R, of this version, RBase. And of course, later on, I can just open up my download folder and run this installation routine. And that's a simple routine that's standard, like installing each and every other project too. So we have to do this first, of course. First, we have to download RBase. I can just show it in my download folder here, and I just downloaded it. You just double click it twice and yes, and then the routine will start. You can choose the language if you want to install it in German or English or whatever you like. I just skip it here since I don't want to reinstall on my machine. The second step then is the installation of RStudio. RStudio you will find under rstudio.com. And of course, .com is a commercial page, but nevertheless, RStudio is based on some license-free work, and accordingly, RStudio in the individual license will be free. Now, let's see where we can find it. Products, RStudio, RStudio Desktop, download RStudio Desktop, choose your version, free of course. Sometimes it's quite well hidden and you have to look around a little, but then you will end up here. Of course, you can also click this button because this button already knows what machine you're running, if it's a Windows, Apple or Linux machine, or you can just choose here. I run a Windows machine, I have to download this folder. If you run Mac, you will have to download this one. Ubuntu or Debian Linux will do this one, and so on and so forth. Now it's downloading RStudio, and again, you can switch into your download folder and double click that file, and that will start an installation routine. Again, it's completely standard, it's no big problem, no big issue, and then you will have it. Well, having done that, of course, you will find in your Windows menu under the letter R, where is it? There it is. You will find two new folders. You will find the R folder and you will find the RStudio folder. Now let us have a first look into the R folder, although what we find there is quite unpleasant. We find RBase here, RI386 and RX64. The first one is compiled for Intel processors and the second one is compiled for AMD processors. So depending on which processor your computer is running, you can choose. My one is an Intel processor. I just run this. And here we see the RGUI, which is the user interface that comes with RBase. It's working, so we can make some calculation here. Nevertheless, it is not very comfortable, and that's why we have downloaded RStudio. I just close this one. No, I don't want to save it. Nothing. And I just go into this again. Go to RStudio and I can start RStudio. Since I run R quite often, I have just linked it in my taskbar down here, and I can start it from here too. And here is my R installation. And here's my R installation. Okay, so we see three windows, and this might be some kind of confusing. Nevertheless, let's open a fourth one. For doing that, we go to this little green circle with a little cross on it, and we find the most important menu here in R. Here you can open up a lot of other windows, and the first one is RScript, and we're going to open RScript. Nevertheless, let's have another look here. We can also open up our notebooks. Later in this course, we're going to use this one and our Markdown too. The rest will not be covered in this course. Nevertheless, quite helpful tools here. So let's start in RScript, and there's the fourth window. Now, since now the confusion is complete, we have four windows, which is quite dizzying. Let's go into what these windows will do for us. Down here, this is called the console window. The console is for getting an immediate answer. So if I want to know something about how much is 6 plus 4 again, oh, it's 10. So you see, I just enter 6 plus 4 and push the enter key or press the enter key, and I get an immediate answer. Those answers are numbered, so this is number 1, and I get 10 as an answer. I can get the same by having my first little program. It's always the Hello World program. So the first program in all programming languages is always called Hello World. And I just typed in print, the print command, and I have a bracket open. And as you see, R always closes the bracket immediately. The same happens with quotation marks. If I open a quotation mark, a closing quotation mark will always be generated so that you don't forget it. By the way, quotation marks are usually used in the European surrounding. So if you're from the US or from somewhere else and you apply high commas, they are equivalent in R, so you can use quotation marks as well as high comma. Both is the same. But since I'm from Europe, I use quotation marks. And I want hello world to be output in my console, so I introduce the words hello world in those quotation marks. And I enter, and the answer will be hello world, so it's primitive. I just told the computer to print, so to give out some text. And the text is always included in quotation marks here, and since print is a function, each function needs those brackets to give data to this function. So I give some text which must be included in quotation marks, and I have to introduce those into the brackets of that function because that function expects some data from me in brackets, and here they are. Well, of course, it would be very uncomfortable if we need a huge analysis in R just using the console, because we will have some hundreds or thousands lines of code later on, and of course we don't want to type them all into the console and do them line by line, and that's where the second window comes into place. This is the script window. The script window is for scripting, for coding code. And we can do exactly the same what we have just seen in the console, and we can do it here. I just enter 6 plus 4 and I push the enter key and nothing happens. Absolutely nothing. This is contrary to what we see in the console, because there the enter key just ran the program. Here it does nothing, it just switches into the next line. And of course we can also use the print command with the brackets and with the quotation marks hello world, and go to the end of the line and push the enter key and nothing happens. Now the question of course is, how can we run this code? It's quite easy. We have two versions or two possibilities how to run this code. We could, first of all, mark with the mouse all the code that we want to run. I just go into the console and push some Control and L to empty the console so that you can easily see what I will do. So I just mark the code and push the Run button here in the script window. And as you see, line by line, the computer has transferred line by line the code into the console and has run each line individually. So first 6 plus 4 was executed, the answer was 10, then hello world was executed and hello world was the answer. Let me go into this code, please, for another reason. It is not very good style to just write 6 plus 4. So typically we will use the print command with those brackets to run this code. This is much better style. But I still have to give you the second possibility how to run code. So the second one is a line by line possibility. So I just go with the cursor into the first line, and now I hold down the Control button and I enter. And exactly that line where the cursor was will now be transferred into the console and will be executed. And the cursor will be repositioned into the next line that is executable. So since I have been in line 1, I have, again, Control and Enter, executed this line. The the cursor will now be placed in line number 2. This would also be the case even if print would be in line number 6. So let me go into line number 1 again, Control Enter, and the cursor now jumps into the next executable line. And now I can use again Control and Enter and execute this line. This is quite nice because I can stepwise go through my code, through my script, and execute each line individually. This is a really, really helpful possibility to run the code. But I just remove those empty lines. Now, we have learned about 2 windows. First, the console that gives us the output to a command immediately, and the script window that does not give us any output, but that can run larger chunks of code by transferring them line by line into the console. The third window that I would like to show you is the so-called environment. And for the environment, we will need some data structures, some variables, vectors, matrices, or data frames. We need data that can be shown here. Since we don't have any data yet, we have to do some, or we have to make some data. The simplest piece of data is a variable. I just give it a variable name, like variable data. I just use this underscore, or often I also use a full stop here, var.data. So this is just a name of the variable. And what is a variable again? It's the same as in math. It's just like a shelf where you can put some data in, right? And this shelf has a name. And this shelf is called var underscore data in this case, because I gave it this name. And I want to assign now some data to this variable, which means I put some data into this shelf, and this data is quite simple. I just give it some 44. We always assign data to some data structure using the smaller than and the minus. Both together will do this. We'll do this little arrow, which means put the data in there. Please keep in mind that this arrow always shows to the left and never to the right, always to the left. Okay, so the data structure where you want to store some data in is always the first in the line. Now, I just put the cursor somewhere, Control and Enter, and I have executed this line. It was transferred into the console, and now we have some data. And now we see in the environment that there's the variable underscore data, and that the only value that is assigned to this variable is 44. So it is in there. This happens to all data structures, and this also happens to functions later on that are self-defined. We will find them here in the environment, because if we apply huge masses of data, of course, it is very, very comfortable to have them on one side here in the environment. As you see, we also have some other tabs on top of this window. I just want to show you the second one. It's history. And here in history, all the commands that I have just executed are stored. So if I just look in here, what was the last week I did this one, and I can send it to the console to execute it again. Or alternatively, I can go into the console and use the arrow up, and I will get the last command, the one before, the one before of that, the one before of that, and I can run this command again if I like to. And of course, if I get it back, I can also change it. So from Hello World now comes Wayne's World, and there's Wayne's World just by getting it back, getting the code back, and changing it. Okay, so there are also connections and tutorials. We don't go too much into this now. We want to know about the fourth window here. The fourth window has several tabs, and the first tab is just a simple file browser, just like the File Explorer in Windows. So, of course, we can use this, it's not a problem. Very important for us is plots, because as soon as we plot data, the output will be shown here. Then we have packages. What is a package, by the way? A package is an expansion of our base. So you will get additional functions, additional commands installed in R if you install a package. This is very useful, and we will apply that hundreds of times. All those libraries that are installed on this computer are shown here, and those libraries that are loaded on this computer are also shown here. I can remove them here, I can update them, I can install new ones, although sooner or later we will get to know the commands to install and to run packages. Nevertheless, sometimes it's helpful to have a look into here. So for example, I have bibliometrics here. It's not loaded, but it is installed on this computer. I see the version, and I can also remove this package from my machine. The most important one is the help window here. We will get to know how to get help in R. Here we can see the documentation of all available functions in R. And if we install another package, just like here, we will also get the documentation of all new coming functions that come with that package. And we can read the documentation here. And there's also this viewer window. It's for output in special packages, but it's rarely used, to be honest. So let's not go too much into that. Well, the last thing that I would like to show you is how to save your script on your disk. So here we have made some script, and we would like to save this on hard disk. So we use this floppy disk icon here. I just click it, and I just want to save that on my desktop. So that's why I choose desktop, and I give it a name, some R script. And I save it on my desktop. And now let's have a look where it is. It's on my second screen, I guess. So here is some R script. And as you see, it is simply, I can open it with the editor. It is just a text file. That's all. So you can also open it with a simple text editor. It's just a text file. But of course you can also open it with RStudio. There it is. This possibility is still valid here, and so you can rerun your script. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. I hope it was helpful to you. See you in the next video. Bye bye.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.